So I'm Stephen Barnes. I work at Lambeth Council, formerly as a planning officer and now working on digital projects, including BOPS, the back office planning system. And I'm going to run you through the validation process of BOPS and the consultation process as well before I hand you over to the register, and then they're going to show you what the application looks like when it's in the register. So this is the dashboard for BOPS. Hopefully you can see it. I'll assume you can unless somebody shouts. And this is what officers or technical officers will see when they log in. They can see all of the cases that are in the system here. We are looking for the case that Johnny's just submitted, so we can filter down to just applications that haven't been started yet. I haven't refreshed this since Johnny submitted that case, but hopefully it will show up. Yeah. Okay. No, so it looks like we're running with a bit of a lag still. So I'm not going to be able to show you exactly what Johnny's just submitted, but we have submitted a similar case earlier on, so I'll just go through that for the sake of time. This is the case landing page. Once you have found your case, you can come in here, you can see the description, what state it's in. Oh, hang on, sorry, not this one. Try this one. Oh, here it is. As if by television magic. Here's the case that Johnny's just submitted, right on time. So I can come in here, I can assign this to myself or whoever's going to be dealing with it. I can see the address, the state that it's in, which is not started. We've got no valid date yet because we haven't done the validation process, and no consultation dates here because we haven't started that. If we scroll down, so each case has got a sort of 4-step process set out. So very clear where the case is up to and what's happening next. We can see over here that check and validate hasn't been started yet. If we go in here, we've worked with planning officers to identify all of the key tasks, and we've grouped them into logical chunks as well to map out the validation process. This is for a householder application. There's a lot here. A lot of it, some of it is yes or no. Does it meet this technical requirement or not? So we won't go through everything for the sake of time, but general principles. We've got the documents up at the top. So going through them, making sure they're labeled properly, which we'll do in a second. Then we've got key information about the application, which is going to impact on the assessment later on. So the description, constraints and designations, reporting details, and then some other technical requirements such as the ownership certificate, and whether it's got an environmental statement with it, which if it is the case, then we can go in there and adjust the deadline and so on. That's relevant. But we'll just go through and have a look at documents first. So you'd be going through documents one by one as a general idea. You make sure that they've got the correct labels. This is the local biodiversity checklist that came through, which has been tagged as other document in PlanX, but in BOPS we have other labels which we might want to apply to this. I don't know if there is one particularly for that document. We can then add a document reference number. This is going to appear on the decision notice later on. We can make that decision now. For example, if I'm the planning officer, I might decide what's going to be on the decision notice now. If not, it's optional. And we can say whether the document's valid, yes or no. This one looks fine. If it was the case that we've got a drawing, it's missing a scale bar, you can see a scale bar on this one, but for the purposes of this, let's imagine it's not there. We can say, is the document valid? No. And then we get taken to this next part of the process. We can say missing scale bar, and here we can preview guidance that's going to be available to the applicant, which we can see in a second as well. And if there are issues that you're picking up with documents and in individual tasks here as you go through this workflow, then the issues are being queued up. So we're not sending an email each time something's marked as invalid here. It's kind of forming a queue to send to the applicant all in one go. So if there was an issue with the fee as well, I could explain in here, total should be XXX, and you can phone such and such number to be able to go and make the payment. And again, that's queuing up issues to raise to the applicant. We're not going to go through everything, but I will show you how that appears as an applicant if there were issues with that. So because there's issues marked as invalid on here, BOPS won't let you make the application valid to avoid making a mistake there. So you can only mark it as invalid, but you do have to make a decision about that. These are the copies of the emails coming through from the system. So this was the okay, this is the email about whether the case is valid.
Stephen, you're only showing one tab, so we can't see anything else.
Thank you. I'll be showing something else. Okay. So this is the email that the system's generated. It's changes needed, goes out to the applicant to say, you can use the link below. If we don't receive this information by this date, we may close your application. And if I click through that link, I go through to here. Hopefully that's changed, but please shout if not. And then again, I have a similar, this is what the applicant would through, follow the link to each section. Once you've done the task, you can mark it as complete. At the moment, it's not started. Here we ask for a replacement document with the scale bar on it. We can just choose a document to show that works. Then that's getting processed straight into the BOPS system. There's no email exchange or attachments to upload. And here I can follow the instructions that the officer's given me. I can say that I've made payment, give a reference number if I had one, and send that back to the officer. And then as the applicant, I can see, okay, once that has been updated, back in BOPS, it will tell me there's been responses there. I can then go in, check what they were, mark those issues as dealt with. You can see the replacement document there. And given that everything's been resolved, now I can make the application valid. The date will be calculated from the date that they were responded to, so 8 weeks from today. I can say that I want to make it available on the public portal, assuming that everything's been redacted and so on. And then I can move on to consultation, which is quite breezy in BOPS. So picking out the adjoining neighbours, we've created this feature which is based on drawing the extent of adjoining neighbours. So I can quickly scoop up properties surrounding the site. Once I've done that, it doesn't need to be perfect, just the general extent. But as I'm drawing that, BOPS is producing a list of those neighbours based on Royal Mail postal data, as far as I know, and creating that list in the background. So if I change that, you can see it's dynamically moving there to make it a bigger or smaller list based on how many properties being picked up. Once I'm happy with the extent and I've picked all the right neighbours for this consultation, all I need to do is press confirm and send. This is the testing instance. So here it's going to show the status as printing, but in the real world use, it would tell us either it's been printed and sent, or it's, you know, processing with the printer, which is gov notify. So it'd be very clear, but just to explain that. And final thing to show just before I hand you over to register team is producing a site notice. So this is quite a common task. We've created a couple of options here depending on what different councils do. So you can send it to an internal team to print them out and have them sent, dispatched and put up. You can send it to the applicant themselves with some guidance by pressing that button there, or we can put the date in here and generate PDF of the site notice now. Once that's done, view it, download it and view it like here. This is going to have the link to the register and the details that need to be on the site